Yeah, that's right, I infiltrated an influencer convention. I traveled 2,500 miles to investigate internet celebrities, their fans, the culture, and so much more. From uncovering stories about stalkers to making my way into wild influencer after parties to learning a valuable life lesson, trust me when I say you are not prepared for any of this.
How does someone feel being just a fan?
He's been sending me the most insane messages because he's convinced that we're going to be married. And he's going to put 7 kids in me. 3 may die.
There's no line, just keep pushing it until you get a police report.
Some of these fans don't have boundaries. As he mentioned, we have people jumping fences to meet their favorite creators.
Yo! I'm such a big fan, bro!
I'd have people trying to find my city, somebody showing up at my house.
Everyone's content creators, and some people don't know how to deal with that.
This is VidCon, the world's largest influencer and social media convention. Founded in 2010 by iconic YouTubers John and Hank Green, this 4-day event promises informative panels, electrifying performances, and unforgettable experiences. For years, VidCon has been the mecca for TikTokers, YouTubers, online celebrities, and their fans. But something is changing. Recently, whispers of the event's decline have grown louder. Many flock to the area not for the convention itself, but for other reasons, hinting at a festival that might be losing its spark. What at once was a free-for-all for fans and influencers has become an extremely fragmented and complex event. But why? What's really going on here? VidCon is no longer just about connection and celebration. It's about navigating the chaotic reality of internet fame. The after parties are wild, the stories of obsession are real, and the drama is ever present, which is why I'm here to investigate influencers, their fans, and parasocial relationships in the perfect setting. Now you might be wondering 2 things. 1, how does this guy get his hair like that? And 2, what's a parasocial relationship? Well, a parasocial relationship is often described as an imagined relationship that a person has with someone they do not actually know. A classic example is someone who might feel connected to a musician because they listen to their music but don't actually know them, like in person or in real life. Over the years, social media has amplified this phenomenon, resulting in a new wave of intense, often one-sided connections between influencers and their followers. These connections can lead to both good and bad situations, and VidCon has seen a bit of both. So I want to use my very limited connections but extreme resourcefulness to investigate this and share literally everything with you all. What makes this 4-day event so infamous, grand, and sometimes even problematic? What is the fan and creator experience like? What happens at these exclusive after parties? What's going on with parasocial relationships? And what even is an influencer? Well, we're going to figure all of this out and more. Grab some popcorn, grab some tissues. Hey, maybe even grab a Dune popcorn bucket if you want. I won't tell anybody. My expedition to study influencers and their culture started like all my journeys typically start, at my house with my cat Zoe. To achieve full penetration of VidCon in the greater area of Los Angeles, thorough research and planning is required. Believe it or not, I've been preparing for this moment almost my entire adult life. You see, I've been studying influencers for a long time. As a young adolescent, I wanted to become a YouTuber. When I was just a teen, I posted sketch comedy videos with my friends, emulating Smosh, Jake and Amir, and other comedy duos I enjoyed back then. It did not work. Around the same time, I created gaming videos, taking inspiration from White Boy 7th Street, Red vs. Blue, and other gaming channels I liked to watch back then. It also did not work. A few years after that, I even tried Pokemon card opening videos because that was the craze back then. And guess what? It did not work. Ultimately, I learned it's best to just be yourself. However, my habit of observing these channels, creators, influencers, whatever you want to call them, persisted. And I've noticed some really fascinating things. For starters, let's talk about that term, influencer. Have you noticed people kind of hate influencers? Seriously, I'm not kidding. A study conducted last year reported that nearly 90% of consumers no longer trust influencers. People associate influencers with the worst sides of social media. There are subreddits and TikTok accounts dedicated to influencers in the wild. The average person loves to laugh at the outrageous lengths influencers will go in order to become and stay relevant. The negative attitude towards the term influencer has led individuals and parts of the social media industry industry to distance themselves from it, which has made things confusing because now no one can really agree on what even is an influencer. We see this at social media conventions like VidCon. If you go to VidCon's website, it doesn't mention influencers at all. It mentions creators. But if you go to VidCon's Wikipedia page, the public labeled it as an annual convention for influencers, featured in the quote, online video influencer conference genre. What's interesting about this phenomenon is that some avenues of the industry have embraced this idea. They don't call it creator boxing, or they tried and it didn't work. They call it influencer boxing. Would you rather watch a creator get punched in the face or an influencer get punched in the face? See what I mean? So despite what the industry or certain big names in social media might tell you, an event like VidCon is filled with, well, influencers. There's no escaping it. Most of the public use the term influencer and creator synonymously, and that's something people in the industry just need to accept. Of course, then the question becomes, do influencers really live up to that bad reputation? Well, that's one of many things I want to find out. And in order to do that, I need to infiltrate the influencer community. How does one do that? Well, by becoming an influencer. I've never really considered myself an influencer, more so just a dude who likes making videos on YouTube. However, earlier this year at a bar, one of my friends introduced me as an influencer. At first, I thought it was weird and made me feel a bit uncomfortable, but it got me thinking. Maybe I could leverage this title for good. Maybe I can look into things I was insanely curious about when I was 14 and share it with you all. With my channel reaching over 100,000 subscribers in the spring and VidCon taking place from June 26th through the 29th, I jumped on the opportunity to put my years of research to the test and uncover the raw side of influencing. To make this work, I would need a hotel for 4 nights, a flight, a rental car, tickets to the event, friends, and of course some sweet, sweet charm. I booked a room right next to VidCon's convention center at the Hilton and a flight out of Pittsburgh to Orange County. Easy enough. Then it came down to getting tickets to the convention itself. You would think buying tickets to an event like VidCon is a simple process, but it's not. For starters, there are 3 different tracks and each track has an associated ticket with it with varying prices. The community track is designed for fans. The creator track is designed for creators or influencers, and the industry track is designed for, well, honestly, no one really knows, but more on that later. I purchased a creator track ticket, which gets me access to the creator and community track. Included with the ticket is potential access to meet and greets and mentorship sessions. These sessions could be a great opportunity for me to get in good with some influencers. However, these are randomly assigned via a matchmaking system, and I ended up with 5 meet and greets and not a single mentorship meeting, which puts a tiny wrench in my plan. Additionally, VidCon's scheduling system is a mess with a non-functional app for non-industry track attendees. I made my own schedule, but I kind of feel like I'm going in blind. Despite these challenges, I now have everything in place to get into part of VidCon. The secret, exclusive, more hands-on stuff, well, I'm gonna have to get creative. With planning out of the way, there was one last thing I needed to do to prepare for infiltration. I needed to look the part. Over the last few years, I've been studying influencer fashion and have noticed a few trends with popular influencers. 1, many of them always wear chains, necklaces, and sometimes rings. It seems like accessories are in and a major part of influencer fashion. 2, many wear a lot of black, white, and beige. Luckily for me, I already do most of that stuff, but the thing is, I don't have anything that screams, I am an influencer, and to blend in with other influencers, I need that vibe. Like a method actor, I have to immerse myself fully for this experiment. So I went to my nearest mall, which is in Niles, Ohio, and tried on some beige, along with a few other things. Beige-wise, I couldn't find something I felt comfortable in, but I did find a few things that covered exactly what I was looking for. After my prep was complete, my hometown friends wanted to meet up and wish me luck before I left for my trip. Like a sailor bidding farewell to his family before setting sail, we had pizza and cake for my upcoming adventure. The cake read, "Good luck," a hopeful sign of the journey ahead. It was fantastic. We also played some games and of course rocked out. It's great having such talented friends, but it was time to say goodbye. To be honest, I had no idea what to expect in the days to come. I've taken on gas stations, big Chipotle, but I've never taken on something so grand as a whole 4 days full of influencers. This would push me to levels I have never gone before, and the only direction I could go now was forward. Anaheim is a city in northern Orange County, California, United States, part of the greater Los Angeles area. If you've never been, the area is home to Disney, the Mighty Ducks, and of course the iconic Anaheim Convention Center that hosts VidCon. To get there, I started by driving to the Pittsburgh airport. I narrowly made it past security and had some McDonald's for breakfast. I know, how posh. I said goodbye to the city I love, had a layover in Dallas in which I almost missed my final flight, but made it and landed in California. From there, I said hello to John Wayne himself, grabbed my rental car, and drove the rest of the way to Anaheim. When I arrived in Anaheim, I let two of my influencer connections, Dandy and JREG, know I was in town. Dandy and JREG have really unique perspectives on parasocial relationships, like super unique. So I wanted to see if I could get some alone time with them to ask them about their experiences with fans, stalkers, and managing relationships with their viewers. Most of the people I am planning on meeting during the next 4 days are like Dandy and JREG, someone I met online, shared interests with, and I've never met in person until now. Hopefully I don't end up the subject of a true crime podcast, but you never know. I checked into my room and went over to hang out with Dandy and JREG at their Airbnb. This Airbnb in particular hosted many Canadian YouTubers. Not all, but many were Canadian. So from henceforth, I'll be calling it the Canadians Airbnb. I got there and I met some super nice influencers. I didn't get much footage of the event, but I asked Dandy and JREG if they'd be willing to sit down and be interviewed by me on this trip, and they both said yes. After just a few hours in Anaheim, I successfully integrated myself into a tribe of influencers. So far, so good. Day 2 arrived and it was now time to see what all the hype was about with VidCon. In order to get into the event, you needed a wristband. These wristbands had scanners in them that you need to scan every time you entered and exited the event. To register, you needed to get checked in by security and then speak to one of these people to check you in. Pretty simple. I was a bit surprised though. VidCon organizers never really asked about my credentials, like at all. Throughout this entire process, I was never asked to share my channel with VidCon. I wasn't expecting any special treatment, but I was hoping for an easier way to connect with people. After all, that's why I'm here. It would be cool if on your badge, it would indicate you're a TikToker, YouTuber, or both. I literally had to write my name on my badge with a pen. What is this, 2004? I mean, you would think the event would have something cooler for you, or even use the app they encourage you to download that does nothing, actually do something. Maybe on there you could link your socials on the app, then have each badge have a QR code that people can scan that takes you to your VidCon profile. I mean, seriously, there's so many cool things they could do, and instead we're stuck here writing our names with a Sharpie. Regardless, I got my badge, walked in, and wow. This was pretty cool. A bit overwhelming at first, but I really loved the design of the area. It felt like the Olympic Village, but for influencers. Today the plan was to experience the event to the fullest and try to understand what the average experience for someone is like at VidCon before getting into the heavier stuff. So I met with my good friends Nation Squid and Dammit Jeff. It was all our first VidCon, so like me, my friends had no idea what to expect. To begin our day, we wanted to do one of the meet and greets because we actually all got accepted into the same one. All three of us were selected to meet the Ned's Declassified podcast group. I actually loved the show growing up and was excited to grab a quick pic with the group, but there was a problem. The line for the meet and greet was insane. Just look at this. If we wanted to wait, we would surely miss some of the talks we wanted to attend. Also, I have no idea why they didn't loop this line inside with the air conditioning, but everyone was waiting in the heat for a long time, so unfortunately, we had to move on. We didn't want to miss the panel about the YouTube algorithm, hosted by two people who actually work for YouTube. So onto that. Yeah, it was super informative. We got to meet Todd, head of the YouTube algorithm, and Renee, the creator liaison, both incredibly nice people. And I could see the positive perspective of this event. It's cool meeting someone you've admired and followed for so long in person. It was really inspiring and definitely why people come to events like this. But after that panel and experiencing a few others, I need to complain about something. There were these creator on creator panels that were part of the creator track. So generally speaking, you would think the talks would be creator focused because everyone is here to learn, network, and improve their skills. Well, I sat through one talk where fans just bombarded creators about non-creator questions like, what is your favorite movie and which celebrity do you not like? Like really irrelevant stuff. And after speaking to many other people who have experienced the creator track, apparently this is super common. There are 3 levels in the convention center, one for each track, but fans just buy creator passes so they can get into that second level, so that they can have better access to their favorite influencers, which in theory is fine. A lot of fans are also creators or strive to be. But this kind of situation ruins many of these creator-based panels, and this is a perfect example of how this unique and sometimes problematic relationship exists between fans, influencers, and aspiring influencers. So regarding panels, I did get something out of certain ones, but not all of them, and that's really unfortunate. I also walked the floor a bit, which is open to everyone. It was pretty cool, though most of the stuff here was for kids, and some areas were a bit empty. Honestly, after a quick walk, you pretty much saw everything. Both YouTube and TikTok had creator booths on the second level, but they were relatively small. And apparently the reason YouTube's booth is small is because of the Hyatt.
The Hyatt is the creator hotel for featured creators, and they're +1s. They try and make the Hyatt fun. They try to have things for creators at the Hyatt. Why? Because they don't want you hanging out on the expo hall floor and causing mobbing, fire hazards, your safety, their safety, fan safety, etc. So they make the Hyatt fun so that when you're not doing a panel, you're not doing a meet and greet, you are not wandering and causing havoc.
Now, I tried to get into this. I was even sent an email from YouTube to register for one of these YouTube sponsored events, but apparently they were sent out by accident. Even though YouTube sent this email, they said I needed to contact VidCon about it. When I contacted VidCon, they said YouTube was the one that I needed to contact. So I don't know. I mentioned before there are 3 tracks for VidCon, and that no one really knows what the purpose of the 3rd track is. The 3rd track is called the industry track, and initially it was for industry types or people who work in the digital advertising industry. In the days leading up to the event, I noticed VidCon advertising the industry track to me, saying things like, quote, expand your network and elevate your career. If that sounds vague, it's because it kind of is. What makes things even more confusing for me and a lot of others is this year, the Hyatt required people to have an industry track pass to get in. No big deal, right? Oh wait, it's $1,000. Now this may be beyond the scope of the video, but I think it's important context because I couldn't find a way into the Hyatt. But I did find something even better. Influencer after parties. During my first day, I met a ton of people, like tons. Many people would come up to me, chat, and mention these private parties. I also learned that many influencers network exclusively away from the convention center during VidCon. Why? Well, for numerous reasons. According to my sources, there is a large sentiment that VidCon is not what it used to be. As I mentioned, many creator panels weren't even worth it, everything on the show floor can be done in a few hours, and of course the Hyatt and industry pass situation. So strangely, in order for me to get a full taste of VidCon, I needed to experience things not directly affiliated with VidCon. So that was the plan. A few people in particular mentioned this super exclusive after party hosted by this Instagram guy tomorrow. So I signed up to see if I could get in. As for tonight, I went to an influencer hosted presidential debate party. Yes, that's right. This year's VidCon coincided with the first US presidential debate of the 2024 election. So naturally, people threw parties. This was my first large influencer gathering outside of the convention, and I was able to get a real taste of the YouTuber and TikToker lifestyle. I tried to make friends like I normally do by talking about the various types of tap water.
Tap, California tap. I'm impressed with the tap, actually. Yeah.
I think it worked. 99% of the people I met seemed incredibly genuine, and not going to lie, this surprised me a bit. Maybe I had my walls up because of how the internet perceives influencers and their lifestyle, but I really felt comfortable, like I was amongst friends. As we talked about before, influencers nowadays get a bad reputation, and while I do think criticism is totally valid for influencers who do the worst, tonight was an eye-opener to me that maybe there's more to the story here. With the 3rd day upon us, it was time to dive deeper and elevate this exploration of influencer culture to the next level. As I mentioned before, influencers and fans share a symbiotic relationship. Without one, the other doesn't exist. This dynamic can sometimes lead to uncomfortable situations. To better understand these scenarios, I sat down with individuals who have unique perspectives on parasocial relationships. Let's start with Dandy. Dandy is an interesting person. She is a multi-platform influencer. She has amassed over 300,000 followers on TikTok, is known for her outlandish sense of humor, occasional thirst traps, and knowledge of the German language. While While those things in itself likely deserve their own deep dive, I was here to learn more about some of the aspects of influencing that do not get enough attention, specifically the good and bad parts of parasocial relationships. I guess my first question to you is, you're really in a unique position. You're a TikToker, influencer, creator, you wear a lot of belts, but one thing that in particular has kind of put you in a little bit of a tiff is you have some fans that have maybe taken things a little bit too far.
So I've been sent around $3,000 from my stalker named you can bleep that. He's been sending me the most insane messages because he's convinced that we're going to be married. And he's going to put 7 kids in me. 3 may die. Up to the age of 6, we can abort him if he's our son. He's convinced that if he sends me $176,000 over the course of his lifetime, then he is guaranteed a marriage certificate with me, which will then instill the 4th because the key to his empire is having a Jewish bride. See, schizophrenia is it's awful. It's an awful thing. You gotta understand, this man sent me tens of thousands of messages. He's way too invested in my life. He is convinced that we are already in a relationship, even though I've never spoken to him. And, you know, you can only block one racist man so many times. He keeps going on tirades in my comment sections, and it's like, oh my God, we get it. Yeah, I don't think that there's anything that I could have done. I blocked him like, you know, we're coming up on our 50th anniversary of me blocking him. He keeps creating new accounts. So the block feature, for those of you who don't know, on Instagram, when you block one person, it blocks all of the accounts that they may create in the future. When you block one person on Twitter, they can just make a new profile and then continue to stalk you. And then when you block somebody on TikTok, same thing on YouTube. So Instagram is the only goated one of the bunch. Yeah, I do think that there's a sense of ownership because he has sent me money, right? But that's just specific to that situation. There's nothing I could have done differently. And it's really not my fault that any of this has happened. I don't even think he sees me as a person. I think he just sees me as like this entity that he just can project all of his thoughts and feelings and fantasies onto. This is pretty typical when it comes to the YouTuber space or the TikTok space, social media space in general. Most people have a stalker, most people have a stalker story. Information gets leaked. The most that you could do, if for those of you at home who are looking to not get doxxed, fake names, great idea. Throw them off the paper trail. You know, have multiple sources of wrong information out there about yourself that are easily accessible, so that you know, you kind of red herring it.
As Dandy mentioned, her experience is unfortunately common in the age of social media. You don't have to be an influencer to deal with this, and I don't know about you, but this stuff kind of freaks me out. Because of this, I really wanted to work with a sponsor who understands the value of privacy for this documentary, which brings me to Incogni. Incogni protects your personal information by reaching out to data brokers, requesting removal, and handling objections on your behalf. Whether you realize it or not, your personal information, social security numbers, login credentials, home addresses, location history, and much more is widely available and could fall into the hands of anyone. This is primarily due to data brokers who aggregate this information and sell it to websites, businesses, and potentially even criminals. The problem is not going away. The number and scope of data breaches worldwide continue to increase yearly. Incogni reaches out to data brokers and gets your information removed to prevent the risk of your personal information falling into the wrong hands. With their advanced privacy coverage and transparent progress tracking, you can see exactly how your data is being protected. The best part, they not only request removal of your personal information, but also conduct repeated removal requests to ensure your data stays off the market, even when new records pop up on these data broker websites. Having a service like Incogni is a no-brainer for me. They protect your personal data so you can focus on what matters most, simply living your life without fear. If you want to sign up, head to incogni.com/Zackary to score a significant discount on a yearly plan. Link down below. Thank you, Incogni, for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to it.
When it comes to there's really nothing that I can do or can say to stop him other than police intervention. And that's the next step for me. If you enjoy watching a creator, you know, and you feel like you have a relationship with them, remember that the relationship that you have with them is through a screen. You don't know this person, and they could be exploiting you. And a big part of a parasocial relationship, or a big part of social media in general, making a living off of social media, is exploiting the parasocial relationship that your fans have. And, you know, it's your responsibility to do that responsibly and not you know, sleep with fans or extort fans, scam fans. I think that's an issue.
In the general scheme of things, do you think that the good outweighs the bad? Obviously, you've had, you know, some significant issues that you've had to deal with. But, I mean, clearly there has been some good, right?
Yeah, I think that a parasocial relationship can be more of like a symbiotic relationship between a viewer and a creator. I think that it doesn't necessarily need to be negative. As long as you're normal about it and you don't send me your fantasies over text constantly, and also marriage proposals, and also vaguely threatening messages about what will happen to me if I don't accept that marriage proposal. But if you're normal, I think parasocial relationships are great.
After speaking with Dandy, I spoke to JREG. JREG is another fascinating influencer with a unique perspective on social media culture. With over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, JREG is easily one of the most unique people I've ever spoke with. It's hard to explain who JREG is, and it's better to just show you. So to start off, I really wanted to ask you about your relationship with parasocial relationships and kind of your opinion on whether you think they're good, bad, and kind of your thoughts on parasocial relationships in general.
Yeah. They're good. The more people who have parasocial relationships with me, the more money. So I'm trying to maximize that.
And when you mean more people, do you mean all people? You know, it doesn't matter who, even the people that might take things a little too far?
Oh, yeah. Well, the people who take things too far, these are people that I can exploit for cash. And that's what I'm in the game for. So
there was something that really particularly interested me. At one point, you had your apartment where you were living publicly posted online, and you had a fan meetup, and you gave a tour with that apartment. Could you go through that experience with me and maybe why you did that and, you know, what happened there?
I was neutral on my own death. So people are really scared about getting doxxed. And I'm like, nothing's going to happen. What's going to happen? A guy's going to show up at your house? Nothing happens. Worst case scenario of that was Frank Castle showing up to Boogie's house. Nothing happened. Boogie shot a gun in the air. That's it. That's the worst scenario we have of everyone getting doxxed. No one's going to come to my place and kill me. And if they do, it's a win-win. You know, they get to kill me. I get to die. So I was like, all right, I'll dox myself. I made a little song. It went, it would rock and be chill if I got doxed and killed. If I got stalked and filled with lead, I would not mind being dead. And so I did that. And I gave an exact date when people could show up and kill me. And people showed up and no one killed me.
Have you seen any repercussions since then? Like, did that open up a can of worms where maybe you've had any bad experiences, or has it so far been pretty good? You know, was there any lessons to be learned after that event?
No, not really. Sometimes people would come by and wave at me from my window. It was like a mecca for a little bit, I guess. And I don't live there anymore. I moved out the year after. So that particular experience wasn't so bad. There are people, I've got dozens of schizos in my replies and my comments and my DMs who think that they have a personal relationship with me because they're mentally ill. And I'm mentally ill too. So I understand. I get it. As long as they're giving me money, I don't care. And the further they want to take it, the more money they can give me. And if they can't give me the money, then that's fine. They'll watch my videos obsessively. And that gives me AdSense revenue. So as long as I'm occupying space in people's heads, that's the important thing. So like I have an option on my Patreon, which is leaning into the parasocial element, which is you can pay me $200 and I'll be your friend for an hour. People buy that. And yeah, that's like, hey, you know, you have a parasocial relationship with me and money. Let's do something with that. Let's do something about that. And there's no such thing as a parasocial relationship. And I'm going to meet everybody. I will meet you. I've met you. I will meet everybody. And I'm going to go out into the street. I'm going to introduce myself to everybody. I hate parasocial relationships, so I'm going to destroy them by meeting everybody.
Do you ever feel that because of your position that you have, and I shouldn't call it a position, but like your opinion on a parasocial relationship, that it might put other people potentially at risk?
This is not a normal opinion. This is a very strange opinion to have. And I like having strange opinions. That's partially why I have it. Obviously, it makes me uncomfortable, obviously. And I don't want people like being obsessed with me and devoting their life to me. But people are going to do that anyway. And so I may as well profit. I'm very careful to make sure my own insane, individualistic opinions don't bleed out and start hurting my friends. And it hasn't happened yet. So, but if people start showing up in real life, like I do live shows, right? So this is something I do have to be a little cognizant of. If someone wants to show up to my live shows, and they are there in person with me. And unless I want to hire security for all of my events, then that is something I have to keep in mind. The worst it's gotten is someone just showing up in person a lot, not taking no for an answer, like being like, okay, I'm leaving now, goodbye, and they stick around, they linger around, or just like kind of being a bad vibe. If you show up in person to like a live show, like I hope that you're gonna be a good vibe.
At what point is it too much, I guess? Because saying the vibe is off is one thing, but you know, at what point does the vibe become off? When is it too much?
When is it too much? It's never too much. There's no line. Just keep pushing it until you get a police report.
I gained valuable insights speaking with Dandy and JREG, but I didn't have time to ponder. Later, I was invited to Disneyland by an influencer marketing company, so I had to focus on that. It was my first time going to the park in California, and it was pretty cool. I had an incredible dinner, I walked around a bit, and then got a message that I was approved for that exclusive influencer party, the one hosted by Dominic Andre, that Instagram guy. I was pumped. This was exactly the opportunity I was looking for, to take my exploration of influencer culture to the next level. So I left Disney and drove a half an hour away to go to this party. But as I was pulling in, I noticed something strange. So I guess this is why influencers get a bad reputation. Hello, me from the future here. So after I got back from my trip, I reached out to Dominic, the host of this party, for more information about what exactly happened here. And this is insane. So according to the source himself, a group of influencers tried to sneak into Dominic's party through his neighbor's yard by climbing his fence. They even posted on their own Instagram stories flexing about it. To make this even crazier, according to Dominic, these influencers called the police themselves for the content. Yeah, that's right. They wanted the police there for the content. Now, I don't know any of these people personally, but if what Dominic said is true, and I see no reason for him to lie, these influencers suck. Imagine trespassing and then proceeding to waste the authorities' time because you thought it would make for good content. I'm sorry, but you are part of the problem. Anyways, because of the chaos, many groups of people went home. When I pulled in, I saw this and decided to leave. I felt defeated. If I had arrived earlier, I could have got into the large influencer after party I was hunting for. I was really banking on getting into this to speak to more influencers, and I came up short. Disney distracted me, and I will never make that same mistake again. So now I have to pivot and have just a plan for tomorrow. Before the night ended though, I decided to head back to the Canadians Airbnb to try and salvage my night. I love the Canadians. Like before, I enjoyed my time, met new people, and even ran into someone with the exact same shirt as me. That's right, my years of studying influencer fashion had finally paid off. I found a shirt brother. Still, I'd be lying if I didn't tell you I felt a little disappointed about earlier. So I decided to walk the streets of this foreign land, clear my head, and prepare for the final day of VidCon, and the most important. I can't escape it. Regular viewers of the channel know I'm more of a one-on-one guy. I actually kind of hate interviewing people in public. It's a bit awkward. I tend to say the wrong things. I get into bizarre situations, but God damn it, is it the realest way to get a scoop. So because of my missed opportunity yesterday, I decided I needed to hit the floor of VidCon. I started my morning by receiving a potential party lead for tonight and brunch at a Mexican restaurant with another influencer marketing company. This was super cool. Can you see me? I'm all the way back there. I made some friends and smashed on some food, and afterwards I recruited my friend Jeff and quickly went to the convention center. If I couldn't learn about influencer culture at an after party, I needed to walk around and go full parasocial. My goal was to dig deep and talk to as many people as I could about VidCon, influencers, and parasocial relationships. And this is what I found. In your own words, how would you define a parasocial relationship?
Hold it.
Yeah, you can do it. Are you guys all familiar with the term parasocial relationship?
Oh, yes. Very familiar.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You align your emotions and how you feel based on somebody else. You know, based on a creator, someone that you see. You know what I mean? And it's an idolization that's like very unhealthy. Very unhealthy.
Like someone who doesn't know you back or doesn't know you in the same way, and a lot of your like perception of them is inspired by their content.
You feel like you know the creator on a friend level, like as well as someone you know in real life because you watch them every day, you understand their life and their struggles, but they just see you as another profile in the comment section. And so it's really just a one-way friendship, basically.
I think people treat different types of parasocial relationships differently. For example, like traditional celebrities are kind of not seen as a weird parasocial relationship, while online content creators are seen as much stranger.
people like to treat parasocial relationships like it's very black or white. It's either you're parasocial or you're like actually friends. There can be a spectrum.
I mean, I think it could definitely be abused in certain aspects, but at the same time, it could be used for good.
I think as a creator, it's like profitable, but I don't think it's a good thing to shoot for. Like, I feel pressure to try to build them because that's how you build a community, but it's weird.
A lot of like weird stuff like stalking, unsolicited stuff, and like it's really creepy, and I don't really support that at all. You know, a good example is a party that happened last night that a fan broke into, and you know, all that jazz is going on, and parasocial relationships, it's just very dangerous for both sides.
I feel like as a woman, it's a little bit different or a little bit more intense for me than for other creators. When I was about 11 years old, I had a channel in another niche about a different game, and it only had about 7,000 subscribers. But I remember I would start getting a lot earlier these comments from men much older than me. A lot earlier, I'd have people trying to find my city, somebody showing up at my house. I remember when I was 13 years old, I had to ask my grandma to meet me at the mall after school because somebody said that they were outside my house. And that was all. I mean, I didn't see any of my male peers going through that, and it was a lot at a really young age.
Some of these fans don't have boundaries. As he mentioned, we have people jumping fences to meet their favorite creators.
You know, you get people who are, you know, kind of really too into a YouTuber sometimes, into a content creator or anything.
It's something that should be talked about more often, especially in the creator sphere, because now everyone's content creators and some people don't know how to deal with that.
Parasocial relationships have like a great way to, you know, have a good influencer, you know, if you don't have anybody in your life who is already like that. But again, you can't look at them as like this perfect guy or girl or whatever, you know?
Idolizing anything or anybody is kind of crazy to me, but
like with the creator nowadays, you get that instant gratification. Like maybe they'll say your username on stream, or maybe they'll open your package on stream. Like they get that instant gratification, and now these parasocial relationships that have been created because of that. In reality, you're just the next person in line with thousands and thousands.
It can be good to have like someone to look up to, but the moment, you know, they get exposed for something or something bad happens, you know, you feel like we get like people at least once a year, a big name, you know, they figure out something terrible about them and suddenly their name is ruined, when like something that would be like considered like mundane can be like career ending for some people, you know?
We'll say someone like maybe R. Kelly. I'd say what he did turned me off from his music. I'd say what he did turned me off from his music. But in most cases, there hasn't really been anything that makes me be like, ugh, because I'm more of a separate the art from the artist. Like I said, it all comes from the culture I'm from. So I kind of grew up separating that art from the artist, where I'm just kind of like, all right, like what you did is shitty. I don't really like the person that you are, but your music helped me in my own way. And I kind of use that to define, you know, myself, rather than, like I said, aligning to what another person's doing.
I mean, I feel like idolizing anybody, like a celebrity or a content creator or just anybody big in general, is kind of an issue, because you're now creating a separation between yourself and anybody else in that type of era. Anybody can be a celebrity, anybody can be a content creator.
How does someone feel being just a fan? It just feels like a weird social hierarchy that doesn't really need to be there.
It's interesting because the most I've seen people talking about parasocial relationships has actually been from fans who themselves tend to unknowingly have these relationships with these creators.
It can be like a little weird when like people are approaching you as if they know you and you have no idea who they are. That's like, I haven't really been recognized a whole lot outside of VidCon, so that's definitely been an interesting learning experience.
It's mostly just like how involved the creator wants to get involved with the fans. Like obviously the fans want to like meet and connect with this person, but if the creator's like push, like standoffish, then you should just respect that and just go about your day. But if they want to genuinely get to know you, then just take that opportunity. Like you missed 100% of the shots you don't make.
Like I am fine actually getting to know a lot of the people in my Discord and like having like relationships that are like not quite so parasocial. Like I know them and they know me, at least on a digital level. But then I am also very careful to like draw boundaries with that. Like a lot of times people are like, hey, can I be your Discord friend? And I'm like, that's really just for people I know very, very well or like personally. And usually people are like super understanding when you draw those boundaries.
If you get recognized in public, you know, give them a little bit of time, a little bit of your time, take a picture, talk to them, tell them something positive. And just remember, you're not going to be here without them.
I mean, it's good to engage with your fans, but also sometimes it's in a way of like, oh yeah, here you go, here's some pictures, here's a signature. If I was doing a meet and greet, I'd be like, say, thank you so much, but you can be here too. Do your own thing. Do what makes you happy. And you could do the same thing if you really want.
When it's really a volume problem and not a personality problem, when they just couldn't get to know all their fans, but they would want to. I think a great example is like Conan O'Brien or Paul McCartney, these types of figures that are really known to be really nice to people and would meet all of their billions of followers if they could, but well, Conan maybe not billions. I'm just saying that because he could take that. But
this guy hates Conan O'Brien.
I feel like VidCon, we kind of went as like a group, just like was friends kind of thing. And I feel like us personally, like, I feel like we're a little bit too older for like the sort of general demographic.
I'm a big fan of the event, obviously. I wish there was kind of a little bit more things to do outside of just going through a few booths and then waiting at panels, because you're now having to reserve seats like it's a concert or something. I'm very mixed about the event, but I think the idea of bringing creators together in any event is a positive idea.
I think these events are great. Gives a creator a chance to, you know, get closer to their fans, meet their fans, right, interact with their fans. So in that sense, I think it's great. Yeah.
I mean, it helps fans get to know like their creators that they've watched and loved for years, and it helps get to know them, to meet them in person.
It's been really, really good to meet people and like put faces to fans, because I feel like a lot of the times it's just numbers on a screen and you just lose track. But I think overall, like, this is the right thing to do, like bringing fans together with creators and also just creators with other creators. Like, I watched your videos, you'd probably seen me comment on them, and we had like never actually interacted even online. So like, look at us now.
I think VidCon, partially because it's in Anaheim, attracts like really superficial people who are going to play into their parasocial relationships. Like the amount of times I've been asked when I go up to someone, do you want a picture? And then like, I don't even know who they are. It like draws out the most superficial people to one place.
I think creators need to be more real. I think a lot of creators put on a front, and obviously, you know, it's a good way to get your brand out there. But I feel like really, you know, it's gonna sound corny, but I think the you in YouTube is really important when you're coming to conventions like these to build your brand. You know, you need to be yourself, and I feel like a lot of creators kind of blend in with each other.
I was surprised because a lot of these communities can feel pretty tight-knit online, but you meet in person and realize that things like maybe alcohol or drugs that don't really get brought up in an online context are the driver of discussions in person. So I felt a little out of place here, but I'd say overall pretty positive. Just a couple experiences with creators have made me feel a little left out.
Like, they have the creator hotel, but I think that they should let like fans and creators like have a time to interact with each other rather than just kind of separating the two and then putting them in only in meet and greets.
I think it should be treated as a concert, not one-on-one. Put yourself out there, they see you in person, put on a show. That's what they're here for. They like entertainment. You want a selfie? He'll take a selfie up there on the stage. You don't have to be one-on-one. I think having that healthy barrier in between would be healthier for both parties involved.
You know what? Actually, last year at VidCon, this girl, she came to my meet and greet, and I don't know the name, but she was like crying when she had met me. And it was like the story that I told her about my life and what happened, what I've been through, reminded me of her father. And she was like crying and like hugging me. So that was like, that felt so good. I wish I could like send her a special note. And if she's gonna see this, love you.
You know, I feel like that's what conventions like these, that's the most important thing that you should really be focused on, is building that authenticity and teaching these kids that, hey, I'm a real person, you don't have to idolize me, don't idolize me.
Yo,
and
I'm such a big fan, bro. Oh my goodness. Please don't pack a picture. Please don't pack me. Can I get a picture?
That's pack on.
Dude.
Pack on.
Dude, let me get a photo.
All right.
Dude, no.
Cool.
He's pack on.
Hey, what's up, guys?
You see pack on over there?
All right, I think that's enough of that.
At this point, I thought my exploration of influencer culture was over. After speaking to so many people, I felt I was able to give a pretty solid representation of VidCon, influencers, their fans, and these so-called parasocial relationships. But I wasn't done yet. The lead I mentioned from this morning came to fruition. With less than 12 hours left in the city, I finally got into a sizable influencer after party. And this time, I made sure not to miss it. It was unique, a bit reminiscent of when I was younger, but much different. Instead of your high school or college friends coming together to celebrate being young or being done with finals, this was a celebration of something else. the internet. People from all over the world coming together to vibe. Canada, Australia, Pennsylvania, it didn't matter where you were from. Everyone was connected by the threads they weaved online. And I think that's the beauty of something like VidCon and social media as a whole. It really does bring people together. Yes, we have to acknowledge the negative aspects of this influencer ecosystem, and I hope I managed to highlight that. Influencers being jackasses, fans turning into stalkers, conventions like VidCon not living up to their potential, all of these issues are deeply concerning, and I only scratched the surface. But I'd like to acknowledge there is some good too. Hear me out. The first video I made on this channel was a little over 12 months ago. The video was a bit all over the place. I was and still am learning, but the reason I made that video was because I went to Creator Clash 2. I met all these people I looked up to for years from across the world and realized they were just normal people. That realization blew my mind and gave me the confidence I needed to start this channel. I believe there's something magical about the idea that you can be whoever you want to be. And that's the silver lining. Anyone can do it. I started this channel with an iPhone, crappy webcam, and a pipe dream. And many of the people I met over the last 4 days, just like 12 months ago at Creator Clash, started the same. And that's special to me. As a teen, I would have called you crazy if you suggested someday I'd be in LA hanging out with a bunch of YouTubers and TikTokers, but here I am. I set out to infiltrate the scene and really show what VidCon and the social media industry is all about. And I would say I successfully did that. It might have taken years in the making, but I wined and dined with some of the best of them, and all it took was a couple videos, a flight, some tickets to the event, some great supportive friends, and some sweet, sweet charm. With this documentary, I really wanted to lay everything out there so you can draw your own conclusions. I don't think influencers are inherently bad, but I do think there are bad influencers. I don't think parasocial relationships are inherently bad, but I do think there are bad parasocial relationships. VidCon as a whole reminds me a bit of E3, a once renowned gaming expo that no longer exists. And it does make me wonder how long VidCon will be here. With them canceling VidCon Baltimore this fall and rumors that VidCon has been sold to another company, I don't know, it does make you wonder. Having said that, I enjoyed my time in Anaheim, and it was surreal to me that I was even able to be there in the first place. So truthfully, I will cherish my experience forever. But now it's time for me to go. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you Incogni for sponsoring this video, and a special thanks to my Patreon supporters. I am putting extended versions of the interviews from this documentary on my Patreon, so check that out if you're interested. Really appreciate you spending time with me today. You have no idea. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.